Hello, my name is Becky Metcalfe and I'm Head of Content at Design Centre Chelsea Harbour. A very warm welcome to the London Design Week 2022 Trend Report. Well, today we're going to discover what's blossoming in interiors for the coming season. New spring-summer collections speak of refinement and elegance, a connection to gardens and a nod to history, travel and adventure. Let's start with our first theme, Fondant Fancies. The Fabergé in London Romance and Revolution exhibition at the V&A has received rave reviews. The Russian jeweller was the go-to for the Romanov family, Maharajas and rich aristocrats. His most famous creations were the Easter eggs made for the Russian Tsar. Each one had to have a surprise, which gave free rein to his creative imagination. No coincidence, perhaps, that Manuel Canavas at Colfax and Fowler launches Anastasia this season as a wool covering and a fabric. The colour palette in this trend is like a box of Ladurée macarons: pistachio, raspberry, peach, citron. There's a pretty lemon colourway in the Twist and Shout fabric by Nikki Haslam at Jean Monroe, and this ripple stripe by a rum fellow at Schumacher is fittingly called macaron. I think it would go rather well with the Annie Selk rugs for Kit Kemp, which you can see in the Andrew Martin showroom. There are sweet sheers in sherbet colourways. These are from Sonia Brown Textiles in Design Centre East. Now, did you know she also has a curtain making service? And we love the sugary pink of this traditional wool covering from Watts. Marie Antoinette was 14 when she was sent from Austria to marry the Prince of France. The 2003 film by Sofia Coppola of the same name has become a cult classic. It has a new romantic, feminine vibe. It's an artistic creation inspired by an historical figure. Now, Marie famously never wore the same outfit twice, and over 70 dresses were made for actress Kirsten Dunst, with extravagant shoe designs by Manolo Blahnik. Pale pastel silks, heavily layered skirts, and ornate decorative elements, including jewels, ribbons, and ruffles, were the order of the day. But I rather think that this tea-cat embroidery design by Rubelli would also work. These ceramic vases, with their celadon finish, would also fit in rather well with the palette. It's part of a new collection by US interior designer Celery Kemble for Arterias. And similar forms are reflected in the delicate mint sapphire basin from new arrival London Basin Company. And look at the major dome chair from Pierre Frey. It completes its heritage collection. The piece offers a modern reinterpretation of the boudoir lounge. So this theme, as you can see, is not stuffy. It's delightful and sweet, like a little bobble trim from James Hare, which you can find in the Marvick textile showrooms, or this charming Copenhagen wallpaper showing traditional houses from Janelli and Volpe at Oldfield. Back to Marie Antoinette. Well, her favourite place was the Petit Trianon, a chateau away from the gilded cage of Versailles. Her greatest joy was spending time on the play farm with her animals or lounging in the garden with her children. Now, this Lisieux chair from Officina Inglesa Furniture would fit in rather well. And it brings me on to my next theme. It's no surprise that a connection with nature has been a reoccurring theme in interior design. However, this season there is a twist. New shoots and the promise of spring. Look at the adorable passementerie from Watts of Westminster, which is as cheering as the sight of the first snowdrops. Or the new buds on the Chinese lantern fabrics from Sanderson. There is literally an abundance of botanicals this season. Check out the small daisy repeat from Rubelli. You can see it on that stack. Embroidered ferns from Manuel Canavas at Colfax and Fowler, and trends at Christian Lee. And what about this one? This is Bridport from Baker Lifestyle, which features more delicate plants and cypress trees. I think it rather resembles a fantasy forest. Now, does anyone remember the Moomin books? It would be a perfect habitat for them. The sling chair from Etimo is inspired by 1970s camping. So look out for the matching table designed by hip Milanese design duo Studio Pepe. Now, they love experimenting with materials, and you can see here they've combined stainless steel with concrete. Botanical motifs are certainly less flamboyant this season. This quirky block print and embroidery from Travers at Zimmer and Rhodes is called Elizabeth. It's taken from the Garden collection, inspired by a dream of a cultivated garden of plants and flowers that have been brought home to grow together. Talking of plants, Savoie Beds has developed the first luxury plant-based vegan bed. Certified by the Vegan Society, it has no synthetics, no animal products, and minimal waste. Anyway, back to gardens. From Schumacher, this is Botanicals, showing collage-like plants with a loose outline. It's from Peg Morris, the design duo of Barry Benson and Chandra Johnson, who partner with artists to create wallpapers. And this wonderful kitchen shot. This is Cornubia, the second collaboration between Morris & Co. and architect and interior designer Ben Pentreath. It combines timeless designs with the landscape of coastal Cornwall. So you can see here there's a real freshness to this colour palette. So the garden specifically is a key trend, but if you're looking for the real thing, head to Plant Drop in Design Centre East. The new arrival specialises in statement plants for design spaces. Now I wonder if you noticed lots of birds in the last mood board. Well, they're cropping up a lot, which brings me neatly onto my next theme, Brighton Pavilion. In 1815, the Prince Regent commissioned John Nash to transform his modest villa in Brighton into an oriental palace with minarets, domes and pinnacles. He chose Brighton for his health, but it became a notorious pleasure palace and no expense was spared. The interiors, by Frederick Crace, were conceived to delight and surprise his guests, melding Regency grandeur with visual styles of India and China. And watch out for more Airbalines. There's motifs from Manuel Canavas and also Alton Brook. The Prince Regent had never been to China, so the decoration was a westernized interpretation of the mythical East, a kingdom of flowers, a perpetual spring. It could be argued that the use of exaggerated motifs in the pavilion heralded a reinvention of chinoiserie and gave rise to its increasing popularity then and now. You can still see some of the famous hand-painted wallpapers in the salon today. Let's take a look at some examples. This fabric is called Audubin Garden and it's by Travers at Cimarron Road, and it features an oasis of birds, flowers and butterflies. It really has an old world charm, but in fact, it was commissioned from an artist living in California. What about Stalks and Rushes from Zoffany, shown here as a wallpaper, or Pluma in velvet from Romo, or Chinoiserie Hall in bamboo and rose from Sanderson, all on an exquisite chinoiserie theme. They'd look rather good with the labyrinth iron sculpture from Arterias, with its meandering garden vine, or the umber table lamp from Gladdy Lighting, which is reminiscent of the bamboo trellis in the pavilion. But we mustn't forget the Indian motifs for this trend. Lisa Fine, the Mississippi-born textile designer, has made frequent trips to India and has a deep love for the exotic Mughal palaces, traditional prints, and romantic colour palette of Rajasthan. This is Zara in spicy cinnamon and indigo, and you can find it at Tissue Delaine. Now for something completely different, let's talk about Sonia Delaney, the artist known for her concentric circles and fractured squares. She dedicated her life to experimenting with colour and extraction, bringing her ideas off the canvas and into the world through textiles, tapestries, murals, and fashion. All this rhythmic composition and joyous colour cannot fail to lift the mood. Her inspirations were drawn from the energy and speed of modern life, from street lighting to modern dance. This is Frida from Pierre Frey from its New Parade collection. It evokes the bursting creative scene of the interval years in Paris, when it was at the epicenter of the avant-garde. Diaghilev's first performances of the Ballet Russe were staged in Paris. Audience were dazzled by the dancing and striking designs. Innovative music by Stravinsky magnified the impact, and no one who ever saw Nijinsky perform apparently ever forgot him. He transformed himself for each role he danced. Now, French avant-garde artists such as Matisse, Derain and Braque designed the productions, and it's no surprise that Sonia Delaney herself designed some of the costumes. Now, these ballets were considered the culmination of the Cubist, Expressionist and abstract movements and forged a new aesthetic in the 20th century. Let's look at some more examples. Here's Fascination, a rich embroidery from Casamance. You can find that in the Colony showroom. Valerius from Ulez, and an outdoor fabric by design bad boy Jean-Paul Gaultier at Le Lièvre, Paris. Now, those Ballet Russe dancers may have found this backstage mirror from Parada useful, or this Tel Aviv cabinet of post-show cocktails from Fratto. There are plenty of curves in the Sonia theme, including tiles from Via Arcadia and a pouf from Parada, shown here with festival linen from Pierre Frey, inspired by expressionist harmonies. There are rugs too. Take a look at this new collaboration between interior design studio Zulufish and Jennifer Manners Designs. It's really striking. This classic round D 154.5 chair, created in 1954 by Gio Ponti, has been reissued by Molteni & C in collaboration with the Gio Ponti archives. The shape of the seat and the backrest are so curved that they are often referred to as a bar of soap. Well, you can see it at Tolgard. Lastly, look out for the use of collage in this theme. These are not post-it notes. This is Specchio. It's a wall covering from Gianelli and Volpi at Oldfield, but there are more from Lelièvre and Pierre Frey. It goes rather well with that altar lamp by Kelly Wurstler for Circa lighting. Now for a mini trend, Grand Tour. While experimentation and thinking out of the box have always been important in design. This is T-Bone, a new adventure in design and manufacturing from Spanish artist designer Jaime Hayon. Chicotti Collezioni is known for bending wood, but for this piece, it was put together using a set of finished elements. We think the back looks rather like a classic seat on a train, and it goes rather well with the little table at the side with its branches or shelves. Now, in this lovely Chicotti photograph, you can imagine someone looking out onto a new exciting vista in a different land. Where do you think it is? Amalfi Coast, perhaps? The Mysteries of the East includes adventures to new lands, like this panorama of stunning Japanese mountains from Ixel Decorative Arts, while Zoffany's Ground Paisley and Persian Velvet evoke the mysteries of Persia. It might just be the sort of thing that would amaze on a grand tour, an educational rite of passage for a man of sufficient means. This is Monte Rosa, an exotic scene of buildings and palms in amber and marie from the aptly titled Aventura collection by Casamance. Arte's new wall covering collection, Le Musée d'Art, will take you on a journey of discovery to the grandeur of Greco-Roman antiquity. Again, just the sort of thing you might see on a grand tour. A mania for all things Egyptian began at the end of the 18th century. 200 years ago, in 1822, French linguist and archaeologist Jean-François Champollion deciphered ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Well, Pierre Frey wants to celebrate this anniversary in partnership with the Louvre Museum with a new collection called Egypt. It's a mix of faithful reproductions and designs reminiscent of frescoes, hieroglyphics, and the splendors of the ancient civilization. Now, lastly, we want to draw your attention to a whimsical design by Galbraith and Paul. It was inspired by a trip to the Philadelphia Museum and depicts a journey to an imaginary place, a hillside town with different buildings, the Georgian townhouses, cottages, formal gardens, balconies, and overgrown arbors. And you can see it at Holland and Sherry. From a hilltop town, let's take a trip on the hippie trail. Eastern philosophies, the Beatles' famous trip to India in 1968, Jack Kerouac's On the Road were all influential in encouraging travellers to make their way overland through Central Asia, via Istanbul, Iran and Afghanistan to India. Some sought spiritual enlightenment, some escaped a rigid, conventional lifestyle, while others just wanted to see the world. Welcome to our next theme, Mystic Garden. It's hippie, slightly trippy, with vibrant colour combinations. Have a look at these glass finials. They're by McKinney & Co. The word psychedelic is a combination of the Greek word psyche and delos, and means mind manifesting or soul manifesting. It's a 360-degree experience that you're meant to feel as much as think about. This colourful Indian scenery depicting musicians, dancers and elephants is called Kalinda, and it's by Manuel Canavas at Colfax and Fowler. It makes me think of happy travellers almost on a magic bus. And what could be more evocative of the flower pot era than this Hannah Abaka rug by Schumacher? This is Matryoshka, a paisley in bright colours from Pierre Frey that is reminiscent of the highly patterned shirts worn during the summer of love. Perfect under an Afghan coat, perhaps. Or why not lounge and think about the meaning of life on a puller sofa from Leah Lux at Beaufort Interiors. At new arrival, Mind the Gap, discover Woodstock, glorious range featuring bold florals, psychedelic patterns, and vivid colour combinations. They're all inspired by the legendary festival of the same name. Talking of legends, what about Sandra Rhodes? Well, Sandra never met the Beatles, but she was certainly associated with the vibrant fashion scene in 1960s. Here she is, surrounded by her new Britannia collection designed for Gainsborough, and you can see it in the George Spencer Design showroom. We love this magnificent bird with its supercilious demeanour and mega eyelashes. It's a detail from the Bird's Blue mural by New York design studio Futzper, as is the caravan stripe wallpaper. Both have a surreal quality. Now, the studio is known for mixing history of art, decorative arts, and manufacturing. And interestingly, they too have a new design inspired by the Ballet Russe this season. But what about Mighty Jungle, featuring Cubist-style flora and fauna from the Vale at Altenbrook? In fact, there are other examples of slightly surreal, dreamlike scenes this season. Astaire Adelitis has teamed up with artist Charlotte Moreau, who offers her take on a soothing world, observing nature, listening and feeling. And we particularly like the panoramic Jean d'Oiseau wall covering. Villanova has commissioned ceramicist Kyra Kane. She has been inspired by vast landscapes depicted on shears and wall coverings. You can see them in the Roma showroom. After all this colour, let's talk about a trend that has beautiful natural textures. We call it stitch and weave. This Cayman rug by Schumacher is inspired by an Alexander Calder tapestry. It's made from hand Calder bacca, which of course is a banana leaf, and it's over 9 feet long. Schumacher is introducing some amazing rugs this season, from zodiac motifs and even a snake. And we love the geometric rugs from Altenbrook. For hardware, S.A. Baxter has teamed up with interior designer Martin Kemp to create handles with meticulous detail that look as good as they feel. There are engineered textiles often seen on the switches of old vehicles, or perhaps a retro cigarette lighter. There's also plenty of weaving, not just in fabrics, but actually on furniture. For Flexform, the Mate magazine rack is made from pliable, hand-woven cowhide, while Visionaire's set of Vienna tables combine marble with Paglia de Vienna woven rattan. Of course, there are textures on fabrics, and with lots of visible stitching. This is the Timeless collection from Mark Alexandra, which you can see in the Roma showroom. Everywhere you turn at Design Centre Chelsea Harbour, there's inspiration. Don't forget, for London Design Week, there are 26 house guests in the Design Avenue who will only be present for the show. New arrivals are opening their showroom doors in time for spring's most inspiring design event. They include the London Basin Company, which we saw earlier, which creates richly decorated porcelain basins. Las Casas, a furniture company combining high-end materials and exquisite Portuguese craftsmanship, and London Art Wallpaper, an Italian firm specialising in exclusive wallpapers. Eggersmann Design brings together 2 leading German kitchen and joinery manufacturers to provide high-end bespoke solutions. And Mind the Gap, who we saw in a previous trend, unveils its first ever UK showroom, presenting collections inspired by a sense of wanderlust, as well as its homeland of Transylvania. Plant Drop specialises in statement plants, and there's another new showroom from Norway, the Hadeland Glasswork showroom, a collaborative space by Norwegian designers showcasing lighting, glassware, porcelain tableware, natural stone, and furniture. Thank you for joining us today. We're delighted to give you a sneak peek of some of the incredible designs from our unique community. Nothing beats seeing beautiful products in person. Details like palettes, patterns, scale and finishes come to life up close. And we look forward to welcoming you to Design Centre Chelsea Harbour so you can start your own voyage of design discovery. Thank you.